the case able to piece together is making, but watch for this tonight. Elon Musk is not the moderator. Elon Musk is there because it's believed he supports DeSantis over Trump if it comes to that. David Sachs, who's that guy, will be the moderator. Listen to David Sachs, the moderator tonight. This will be cut 10, talking about the war in Ukraine. He wrote for Newsweek an article saying these neocons will drag us into woke war 3. Here's David Sachs.
Concern is that let's call them woke cancellation tactics are being used to silence a part of this debate or discussion, which is how do we find a diplomatic solution to end this Ukraine war? And if you put forward any idea for a peace settlement, then you are portrayed as being a Putin sympathizer or sycophant or something like that. You saw that with Elon. He put forward this pretty reasonable peace proposal that I think the contours of which have been defined for over a year. Many people have put forward a proposal like that. And in fact, Zelensky seemed to be entertaining proposals like that at the beginning of the war. And yet he was denounced as being sort of this Putin puppet.
All right. So here's my point. That what we're seeing tonight with this David Sachs guy is another signal from Ron DeSantis that on Ukraine, on that issue, the Trump supporter, the base supporter, where I think Republicans are, he's clear is one of the reasons putting this guy in here. He's not in Zelensky's camp. He's not, a neocon or anything like that when it comes to the war. Watch that. Now, Vanity Fair loses their mind. They liken Elon Musk to David Duke. And they're saying that Elon Musk is helping to, well, he's not hosting. David Sachs is the host. He's the host of Twitter. What's the matter? Was David Duke not available? It's stunning. I've seen others call him, and we'll play it to you, the right-wing hero, Elon Musk. How's that going to go down tonight, since he's clearly at some level favoring Ron DeSantis with this? Haven't seen the over-under of whether Trump will take back to Twitter tonight, which would steal the show. That would be a huge hit. I want to play you Brett Baer, and then I'll answer some of the things that DeSantis is going to try. And then I'll tell you, there's only one thing that I think can work for DeSantis to break through against Trump. There's only one thing. These other things he's going to try are maybe around the edges here and there, maybe not even with Trump supporters to close the gap. Here's what Brett Baer said about it. He agrees with me. Cut 16.
Yeah, I think the Biden folks would really like to run against former President Trump. And they are talking about it that way. They are saying their messaging is about fighting extremism, and they're pointing directly to the former president. So, yeah, you've got you're connecting dots here. He is overwhelmingly leading by, as you pointed out, dozens of points in the latest polls, every poll, not just one poll, every poll. So something has to change dramatically, to Carl's point. And there may be events that we don't know. There may be other legal challenges that he faces. There may be other things that happen. But there has to be a significant movement to change the dynamic. Right now, former President Trump controls the environment. He controls the base, and he controls the messaging. He is spending a lot of money, though, as I noted, going after Governor Ron DeSantis. You don't do that unless you consider that person a threat. And tomorrow, he officially, DeSantis gets into this race and potentially could be a threat to the not Trump group of candidates who are trying to be the alternative.
Well, look, DeSantis finally getting in opens him up to fire back. Not that I think he's going to fire directly at Trump right out of the box, but it does help him. Here's the arguments DeSantis is going to make. Yeah, Trump was good, had a good term, all that stuff, but you need 8 straight years, and he's going to list the reasons to finish this or to put us on the right track. He's the future, Trump's the past. He's going to talk about that in 8 years. so many potential Supreme Court nominations will come up that they might not come up in 4 years. It might be that 5th or 6th year. And to me, that's an intellectual argument that's pretty good, but it's not going to move the Trump voter. It's the juice they want. He's also going to say, look at Florida. Look at what I did in Florida. Now, that is solid. It's unbelievable. But the Trump voter is going to say, yeah, well, I don't care what you did in Florida. I want Trump. What else you got? DeSantis apparently is going to say, I'm Florida. Trump is Fauci. Now, this might be the biggest nonsensical thing. He's going to run to the right of Trump, saying, I faced COVID down. I did not do what Trump did, which was allow Fauci to run wild. Blaming Trump on Fauci is not going to work with Trump people. I don't think he's going to say, well, Trump is the one that gave you the vaccine that caused some issues. I didn't do that. I don't think that's going to work. Brett Baer just alluded to something else. Trump could go to jail. That would probably not work, in that in jail, Trump can continue to run. You've seen, right, that in mid to late March, more late March, will be the next date that Trump is due in court in New York for the trial with Alvin Bragg. That's right before the Pennsylvania primary, right after Super Tuesday. Could it be locked up by then? Maybe. I don't know that I would bet on that, the nomination. But Trump could run from jail, win the presidency, and then pardon himself. Oh, man, can you imagine the news media breakout that day? Trump pardons himself, goes from jail to the White House or to the inaugural speech. Now, does it hurt him against a Joe Biden, against persuadable people if he's in jail? Yeah, it does. With his base, it might help him. It has helped him with all these charges that have been placed on him. So what is it that Ron DeSantis can do? How about abortion? Appeal to the true believers there in Iowa and other places. Might help a little bit in Iowa. I just found out last night, looking through this stuff on abortion, that the leading pro-life figures, including one who went after Trump a while ago, journeyed to Mar-a-Lago, trying to convince Trump and telling him that 15 weeks is the sweet spot. But Trump still will not go for a federal ban on abortion. And I think he's right on that. I don't think that's consistent. I don't think it's conservative. And I don't think that's the way to go. All right. So what is it Ron DeSantis can do? There's only one thing that I see that he can do. What Ron DeSantis has to do in August 6th, the first Fox debate, there has to be a moment. You look at him on stage, and he looks equal to Trump as far as the give and take in a debate. If he does some of that, it'll break through a little bit. It'll give us a little bit of a sense that, I'm not talking a knockout punch, but that he stands his ground. He looks presidential. He looks like he can handle it. That's going to be his moment. Now, I'm reading that his group has raised or intends to raise $200 million to knock on hundreds of thousands of doors in Iowa and the early states. Iowa might do pretty well. That's all good. But right now, Brett Baer is right. Trump controls where we are right now. Are any of those arguments compelling? And if I get callers from Trump going too far, I'm going to remind them that Ron DeSantis did succeed in Florida. The evidence is overwhelming. But Trump is an overwhelming force. We're back to this again. Now, the argument I think we really ought to look at is which one of these guys, there's only two, has the best chance of beating Joe Biden. And that by any metric that I could see at this point. Now, he could be exposed. He could be another Scott Walker and knock off the presidential stage pretty quickly. I mean, DeSantis. But based upon what I see, he has the better chance of beating Joe Biden. But I don't think that's going to persuade Trump voters.
Are there any lessons that a DeSantis can look to Walker to learn? Like why did Walker implode so
yeah,
quickly?
He just looked on stage. It's some of it's visual.
Yeah.
and he just didn't. He didn't have the gumption to jump in there quickly. They put him right in the center for the first couple of debates, as I remember it. He never gave a reason why he was quitting. I don't know, Dan, that the hair was something that was a distraction.
Kind
Certain
of sold
people,
himself as a hockey dad, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and certain people don't look presidential to people. They start to develop when they're standing on stage next to these other figures.
Yep.
Like Marco Rubio did look tiny, in comparison.
Now, let me ask you this. If Scott Walker were to run for
Yeah.
the first time in 2024, do you
Right.
think you would have more success now? I think so, because I think
Probably.
the climate has changed
Yeah.
where people are wary of politicians, and Scott kind of
Right.
comes across as the everyman type.
Yeah. 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 But at that point, though, between Bush and particularly next to Trump, it
Yeah.
was such a force of nature. He just didn't have the stomach for it. I think DeSantis has been in big time stuff already. I think he'll be fine. But he seems to be taking the task of don't go directly at Trump. And I'm in the camp that thinks you got to go directly at Trump. You got to roll the dice. Trump comes after your wife, you have to get right in his face. And I mean, literally almost. Then you got the wild card of Christie on stage, who will announce next week. But that's the breakthrough moment, the debates, the first debate. Now, if Trump doesn't debate, then you got to go down Broadway that he's chicken. That's got to be the tactic. Other than that, are any of these going to work? Remember before, months ago, and DeSantis couldn't capitalize. People were starting to get tired of Trump. There was a weariness. You heard it in callers. You heard it. I haven't gotten one pro DeSantis caller in quite a while. They're just out of the blue. I love Ron DeSantis. That guy. Now on Twitter, there's some of that still. But Trump, what is resurgent? The attacks of the left. Alvin Bragg, even before that, just the all out. And it looks like the Biden people are going to want to charge him with the document thing. The woman in Atlanta is going to bring him down there on the voting thing. And the more they do that, they're not going to take him out on that. Not with a base of support. It energizes it. It says he's the only one standing in the ring. Now, the ad that Ron DeSantis is playing, you hear his wife's voice. He's backstage. He's buttoning his coat, ready to run on stage. And they talk about all the slings and arrows you face if you run for president. And then the clip is, but America is worth it every single time. I don't think there's anybody out there that actually thinks, and I sent it to you. We have one guy on CNN saying, yeah, what he's going to do is he's going to try to tag Trump with Fauci. By the way, what a waste tonight, too. The one interview we get with DeSantis is going to be with Trey Gowdy, Dan. Oh, God. And Trey Gowdy used to be the golden boy. He just shows something rotten in Denmark with Fox. I hate him on Fox. I just can't take it. It's just too much piety, too much nonsense from him. That's where DeSantis is doing the interview tonight. They know each other, I guess, from Congress, et cetera, after the Musk. So this could be an A+ tonight. It is different. It is a bust out versus the usual thing. If the technology holds, this could be interesting what DeSantis says, but I don't see any clear point of how he dislodges Trump's support, since the left is helping Trump be propped up by continuing to go after him. I mean, it's an obvious thing that goes on here. His only play that's going to work is man-to-man on the debate stage, whatever comes up, whatever the moment is. That's the only thing that I see. All this other stuff with Trump is next to impossible with his base of support. All right, let me give you the side question.
Can I do a couple things real quick?
Yeah.
So youtube.com/@1210WPHT, always going strong for Dining with Dom. We're live right there. I want your opinion on a discussion that's happening over in that chat.
Yeah.
Buddha Man writes, is it possible that Trump has become a small part of the system/machine? Ipso facto responds saying, I'm on neither team at this point, but no, I don't think so. They wouldn't be coming after Trump so strongly if he was indeed part of the establishment.
Yeah, he's not. None of these arguments are going to stick with him on this. In fact, his base, which usually would be people you would think that would say, you know what, government's gone too far with Medicaid, Medicare, all these entitlements. Trump reads them to go after DeSantis because he wanted to reform Social Security. And I think he's probably right. He's got a weird populism here. That's leftism. but they don't care. I don't think you're going to. DeSantis loses on that. So, what can DeSantis do to get some degree of challenge to Trump? I gave you the only thing that I think is going to work, saying, think about it. I'll have 8 years, and all these Supreme Court justices will be elderly or ready to quit or dead. And I could put in a 7-2 Supreme Court based upon age and everything else. I have to replace Alito and Clarence Thomas, and that'll probably happen in the second term. If it's Trump, he only gets 1 term. They'll wait him out. That's not, it's a good argument to me, but does it even puncture a little bit? So what does DeSantis have to argue to get any traction with Trump? Let me give you this side question.
One more
Yes,
thing.
yeah.
On Twitter, Brian writes in, one of the progressive liberal trolls, has a very keen ear, says, Dom, did you notice what Brett Baer said here?
Yeah, I think the Biden folks would really like to run against former President Trump.
Yeah, that's what he said. I mean, all right. I think I just said, the argument is there, and I think it's a sound argument that DeSantis has a better chance of beating Biden. But I also said, you're not going to turn the Trump people with that. They're going to say that's fake news. It's made up. It's all hocus pocus. They're trying to stop Trump.
Oh, well, I was honing in on him calling out Brett Baer saying former President Trump instead of
That's
Trump.
what you were saying. Yeah, okay.
You
can say former all he wants. He's still a president, just like Biden will be a president when he's
to run against former President Trump.
That guy's exhausting.
Join the team.
With that. Yeah,
current president.
There you go.
Well, no, not current president. But
all right, side question now. We have Memorial Day coming up, and that's the Indy 500, right?
Yes.
Fastest I've ever gone in a car, but I wasn't driving, was sadly 180 miles an hour at the Charlotte Speedway. So we're looking today.
Have you ever been to Indy 500 or
no
big race?
The Brickyard, no.
Yeah. I got to go. It was awesome.
And those guys are driving low to the ground. It's even tougher.
Yeah.
So we're looking for anything that involves speed, cars, a word, a film, maybe a chase scene, a phrase like burning rubber. Whatever you can come up with that relates to this question of speed. Of course, the film speed will take off.
Yeah.
But my favorite is the chase scene in The French Connection where Gene Hackman is chasing the Elevated in New York. And it's real. It's authentic. He smashes into stuff. He doesn't barely avoid them when he catches up with a guy. Something in any way, genre, think outside the box, related to speed. All right, Dan.
How about Tracy Chapman's great hit that's now been covered by, I think, Luke Combs and has taken over the country charts, Fast Car.
Okay.
And also behind us, we hear Kavinsky's Night Call, which served as the theme song for a great Ryan Gosling film. And I say that weirdly because I'm not an enormous fan of Ryan Gosling, but man, the film Drive is amazing. The guy plays a professional driver, a lot of car chases. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. Highly suggest Drive, starring Ryan Gosling.
All right, so that's the premise. That's the side question. Got a couple of guests later in the show coming up. Debt ceiling, and I'll tell you, in Pennsylvania, recipients in Pennsylvania food stamp have huge card balances. A number of them, $10,000. Are they really hungry then? How do you have a $10,000 balance and you're still on food stamps? A food stamp balance of $10,000 in their account. All right. Jump in now, though. What does DeSantis have to do to make any kind of impact here? He's a solid second, but he's behind 1 million points with Trump, and the Trump base has never been more energized, I'd say, based upon everything. What does he have to show? 855-839-1210. All right, welcome in, everyone. Dom Giordano Show, calling them as I see them because I really like Ron DeSantis, and I think he has a better chance to beat Joe Biden. It's based upon some polling, gut instinct, of what he would drive out versus Trump. But that's not going to be enough. Trump people want Trump. So what is it? What's the issue? Well, it's certainly not abortion. Remember, I told you one of the anti-abortion leaders, pro-life leaders, went after Trump because he called what DeSantis in Florida signed harsh, which is the 6-week heartbeat bill, and that people were not aligned with that. Well, guess what? Lindsey Graham and the head of that pro-life outfit and others went to Mar-a-Lago trying to convince Trump. They showed him, and he seems to be convinced, I am, that 15 weeks is the sweet spot, so to speak, where Americans are on that issue. But Trump was still reluctant to go for a national federal ban. And I am too, as a conservative. It doesn't make any sense to go down that path. DeSantis is the one on the abortion issue. The only thing is this, is the political calculus. DeSantis realizes he's got to upset Trump. Where can you upset Trump? We know where it is. Iowa. It happened the last time with a much lesser candidate, Ted Cruz, in 2016. Iowa has that weird caucus system. I broadcast from there during the caucus, or right on the cusp of the caucus, and we saw the straw poll and how they do it and all. It's a very difficult place. There's a lot of evangelical, a lot of religion involved, and pro-life might be a sweet spot. So maybe DeSantis thinks that's the one shot, upset him in Iowa. That gives you momentum, puts you on track, and away you go to have a shot. I think it's during the debate, punching back at Trump. My advice would be don't take it, punch him right back, punch him back harder. That's always the best advice. Go right at it. What are people going to say? Oh, my God. Look, and I said it before, and I hate Jeb Bush and the Bushes. I despise. But when someone's coming after your wife, okay, you got to drop the gloves. You got to drop the gloves and say, we're not moving forward, Wolf Blitzer or whoever it is. No one's coming after my wife. I'll settle this right here, you creep. I'm serious.
Go Will Smith.
What are people going to say? Is the average guy in America going, oh, look at that. That's unpresidential. He sells Donald Trump. I'll settle it here with you. No, the average guy in America is going to say, you're damn right. Someone says it about your wife. That's it. Nothing else matters. And if you don't see that, you shouldn't be president. Now, Dan, I told that to Sam Katz. You know the story. This little punk guy for the labor union would follow Sam Katz around with a bullhorn. And he's calling his wife over the bullhorn right in his ear, walking up to him at every event. The C word. You got to drop that guy the first time the C even comes out, don't you? To be mayor of Philadelphia? Yeah. Well, what do you mean? Violence in mayor of Philadelphia? No. Anybody call? Look up the ladder here. I need somebody hosed down in here. Somebody calls your wife that on a bullhorn in your ear in front of people in that manner? You don't say, well, can you explain that? Or I'm going to ignore that. That's what he was told to do. You physically attack him right there.
Is this an instance where Will Smith would have been right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And let's say your glasses get broken in it. You put the broken glasses on, then give your speech and say, who's next? What would a Frank Rizzo do if somebody goes after his wife during a debate or this little guy walks up with a bullhorn in Frank Rizzo's ear? He would pick him up by the throat, literally, and then dump him down.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah. So the advice to DeSantis is Trump wants to fight. If you really want to be in this, you got to fight. Pick your spot in the debate and do that. All these other arguments.
So my counter argument, though, is we're talking about a guy here who's spent now 6 years dealing with the worst of the worst levied towards his wife. So I feel like, in pledgeship in a fraternity, you got to go through the worst before you can, make it out the other side. Trump's been through it. He's made it out. So maybe he doesn't think it's that wrong to do it to somebody else now.
I don't care what he thinks. I don't care what you think. It's a cardinal rule. I don't care what the other guy thinks. I don't care where he's from, Dan. maybe on the main line, it's different, but in South Philly, you're a punk for life. In addition with, it's your wife. DeSantis has to wait for a moment and go, what did you say? And the guys, buzzers are being hit and all, and saying, I don't care what you do. You can hit that buzzer all you want. Now, if I'm the moderator, I'm tearing up the question saying, you too, let's settle this. All right, let's go to Steve and Shelfon on Talk Radio 1210. Hey, Steve, good afternoon. Good.
Good. Yeah, the only way that DeSantis can beat Trump is he's got to take the fight directly to him.
I agree.
Just attacking him day in, day out, exposing his flaws. Trump is, Trump's not perfect. And he says, Trump will say, I had a great 4 years. I did this. And DeSantis is going to have to say, well, why did you lose? You ended up losing. If it's so great, you'd be the president right now. He's got to attack him at every turn because Trump has got the killer instinct. He'll destroy him otherwise.
Yeah, I agree. Whoever's advising, look, he didn't announce until now, Steve, so I get it, why he doesn't say Trump's name and do anything. But once you're in the ring, you're right. If he thought it was bad before with Trump, what Trump's going to do now is I'm expecting he takes to Twitter. I think he might take to Twitter tonight to go right after him live.
He's got to go after him every chance he gets and just expose his flaws. And I like Trump, and I like DeSantis too. But if he expects to win, he's going to have to show that he's the big dog and that Trump is not, that Trump is second place here.
I agree. Any other sort of strategy with this, Steve, always results in Trump. He's too good at it. You got to take him on directly. There's no finesse here that's going to win any of that. Steve, something associated with speed. What do you have?
How about speed kills?
Yes, that's a good one. That's both in the NFL and driving, right? Let's see. Pete in Merchantville. All right, Pete, what's your association with speed?
My association with speed is the Blues Brothers movie.
Any particular scene?
The last chase back into Chicago from where they're having their concert.
All right, that's a good one. All right, yeah, that's pretty good. I see a great one on board. I will try not to be biased with Ron's, Dan, because that just, yeah, to me, that's one of the top 10 moments of all time. You love sports.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
The wording of the question again is what?
Something associated with speed. Yeah.
Oh, it's not fast cars?
No, we associate
that's
with
what I put on
speed.
Twitter.
Yeah. Okay, that's all right.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Fast cars is one, but we broadened it out. That's something going really fast. Cars, though, because of the Indianapolis 500. Yeah. I'll accept it.
Cool.
It's my fault. If
No,
not,
just
I
wanted
brought
clarification.
it. Yeah.
No, it's my fault for putting it wrong on Twitter. I apologize.
I don't know. After you. All right. Will there
We're
be
too Canadian, Dom.
What can DeSantis say tonight? The boldness of this is countered by the technology can sound kind of glunky. And if that's the case, it's going to be a debacle. It's going to be an embarrassment coming around this. So 855-839-1210. Now, I wouldn't say DeSantis has to go at Trump hard until we get into the debate. And that's when you're there, man to man. It's a moment. And you go into this. And Trump is going to be ready to say something outrageous. But if Christie's there too, oh, man. And Vivek Ramaswamy. All right, coming up, I will tell you another Republican contender is getting a town hall with CNN. I wouldn't have chosen this person. I'll tell you the person I would have gotten for the town hall, who I know would do it, and is much superior. But there's going to be another Republican presidential candidate doing a town hall, this time with Jake Tapper. You get in, though, at 855-839-1210. Do that right now. Hey, our good friend John Gilgee of Rhino Shield reached out with a special offer for listeners. Book now and get 20% off your job. So if you've been waiting for the perfect opportunity to beautify your home with the permanent solution to paint, this is it. Rhino Shield looks like paint, goes on like paint, but it never chips, cracks, or fades. It's ceramic coating. It's guaranteed for life, so you never have to paint again. And I'm impressed with both the product and the company. It's perfect for any surface. You get the beauty of fresh paint, the maintenance of vinyl, even insulates your home. And for a project, your home, as important as this, you want to work with someone you can trust. That's why I'm happy to recommend John Gilgee, the local owner of Rhino Shield. He'll meet with you himself and fully explain the process. He's helped many listeners just like you upgrade the look and quality of their home. Call him right now to take advantage of this 20% offer just for my listeners. Visit myrhinoshield.com or call 844-RHINO-99. That's 844-RHINO-99. All right, it is Dom time. Welcome in. I have the odds. Give these to you. What words will Ron DeSantis hit? They have the over and under of winning Iowa. Not bad. The odds on Iowa. Will DeSantis win the Republican nomination? Not bad. It's plus 200. No is a minus 300, meaning you got to bet 300 to win 100, right? I would put it even higher at this point. I'd put it at least 500 with the no. Yeah, I think the no is very strong at this point. I don't see it unless there's a moment here. to get the nomination. But the number one word they're sure he's going to say is a minus 5,000 is Biden. God. And of course, woke. I bet on woke. If he doesn't say woke tonight during this whole thing, it will be shocking.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think
I'd say the word woke comes up between he, the Sachs guy, and Elon Musk 5 times during this, over and under.
Do you think he goes directly at Biden, or does he say the current administration?
I think he says Biden.
Yeah.
At least sometimes. Yeah. He'll say Biden. Yeah, there's no downside to it. Okay. Who is it? Who's the Republican now that is getting the getting the CNN town hall? Now it says it will be in Iowa, and it will be with Iowa Republicans and those that pre-register. It seems to be it won't be exactly the same audience that Trump got, which he wouldn't have done it unless they agreed to it. So that would be Nikki Haley. And to me, Nikki Haley is dangerous to Republicans because she's willing to say just about anything at this point to get her name out there, to distinguish herself. She's attacking DeSantis and saying he's just a knockoff of Trump. Of course, that's going to be her level of attack. And people don't want that approach. They want the Nikki Haley approach. But she'll say stuff that then accrues to other Republicans about Social Security and the rest. That's where some of the danger is. And her town hall, I guess I would choose Vivek Ramaswamy. Much more provocative, much more interesting. Not as big of a name as Nikki Haley. Governor Christie would be interesting in the town hall. That's the other wild card in that first debate. Christie on stage with Trump and DeSantis. Wow. Maybe Vivek Ramaswamy or Nikki Haley will go after Christie to get their name out there, who's polling at a -0 at this point. So 855-839-1210. What are you looking for that would break through with DeSantis tonight that should give more of a listen? All right, let's go to Ron in South Jersey, and Ron's on Talk Radio 1210. Hey, Ron, good afternoon.
How you doing, Tom?
Good.
Great show. Secretariat. How can you not have Secretariat?
That's a great.
Yeah, well, you know, that's my all-time favorite. Secretariat coming around the backstretch at the Belmont.
I know.
Is up there
And
with
they
Babe
said-
Ruth, Muhammad Ali, and Jim Brown. You know, it's how
Right.
can you not see it that way? Yeah.
And they said that the Secretariat looked at the horse and then he went right past them.
You gotta believe it. It is stunning to see coming down the backstretch.
I know. Yeah,
Yeah.
in fact, I gotta watch that movie tonight. I gotta find it somewhere.
Give it
There
a
you
shot.
go.
Thank you, Ron. Yeah, Secretariat definitely makes it in there. All right, now the debt ceiling is coming up. I've seen different dates. June 1st on default is one. I even have a list of the Washington Post. Here are President Biden's debt ceiling options ranked because they think it's outrageous. The Republicans are committing extortion. Now, we all know they're not committing anything. How are you going to stop these people from spending if you don't have a line that you can't spend past? Well, they're saying, but you can't default. Well, they're not going to stop spending then. So how can we continue to spend when you have a situation like that? I saw this morning. It is hard to believe. It's come to light that, and by the way, Valerie Arkush's name is in here. I'll get to her. Recipients in Pennsylvania, says the Pennsylvania Penn Star, rack up thousands in food stamp card balances, raising questions about expansion. So Josh Shapiro thinks we ought to expand food stamps, $16 million at the state level on top of the feds. There's more than $400 million in federal aid intended to help feed low-income Pennsylvania families. It went unspent last month. So why did people not spend it? In fact, there are 566 balances on EBTs, electronic benefits transfer cards, topping $10,000. Well, wait a minute. If you have $10,000 on your card, are you really hungry? Do you really need it? Or are you playing with this for some reason? Maybe you're selling it. God knows what you're doing. Of the 556 households with a five-figure balance, the State Department says, well, they're a bit of an outlier, but the department notes that SNAP benefits on an average balance was $263. But there were tens of thousands that had a whole lot more on that card on balance. So Valerie Arkush was asked, look, why don't you put a cap on this at the state level? And she says, of course, the great Arkush, we can't do that. The federal government will not allow it. But according to the U.S. House on Agriculture, U.S. Committee on Agriculture, they have oversight. There's never been a discussion about putting a cap on it, but they could do it. So the state could request a waiver from the federal government for a pilot to test out placing a cap on SNAP benefits, meaning you get the money, but if you don't spend it, why? So why are these people with $5,000, $10,000 in benefits sitting in their electronic bank account, if you will? What are they doing with it? We know about the level of fraud that's out there around food stamps. Why would we increase it, though, if a great number of people are not spending it? Doesn't that indicate they didn't need it? How do you rack up $10,000? That's years.
I mean, I have a justification.
Yes.
You go, you lose your job, you're unemployed, you sign up for SNAP benefits.
Right.
You get a new job, you assume that now that you're unemployed, it'll be automatically canceled, and you just throw it away and forget about it, and it just,
that's
grows and grows and grows.
Yeah, well, I think it's worth getting to the bottom of that.
I agree.
But the bottom line is those people are still on it. So doesn't there have to be a mechanism where it's canceled?
And are those people that don't need it anymore, are they, contributing to the total demand that's, liberals always tell us
Well,
they need?
exactly. Right. It works that way too, where they keep on, and there's $400 million in there now that has not been spent. So the point is, why would you add more benefits when you have $400 million that hasn't been spent? Why not investigate it? Valerie Arkush says, no, we can't put a cap on it and investigate it. Yeah, but Dan, those who went back to another job, though, it's still $10,000 in bet. Even for a family of 8, it's around 12 or 13. I have the exact figure here. It's $1,691 a month for a family of 8. Let's say it's a family of 4, and it's like $1,000 or $1,200, right? Well, that's a long period of time that you let it sit in there to get to $10,000. And then suddenly you're going back to work. Why weren't you spending it during that period of time?
And this is all with the uneducated assumption that I have that it does indeed have to be manual. I don't know. If you are employed, does it cancel? Does it stop?
I don't know if they know.
Yeah.
Apparently not. But I'm asking, how do you build up $10,000?
Yeah, that's a great question.
If you were hungry during that period of time and you were unemployed, weren't you spending? I could see you got $20, $50 left over at the end of a month, right? Well, that'd be a lot of months to get up to $10,000. I'd love to get your response, 855-839-1210. Coming up, good news on the AM radio front, and I'll tell you how that happened. I'm not sure that it's complete, that every new vehicle will mandate there's an AM radio in there. We had a guy on, though, early on that said, yeah, there's a fix that electric vehicles can certainly have AM radios. All right, I hope you're having a good lunch today. We'll see if there's any more lunch tips in Dining with Dom. But 855-839-1210, why spend more on SNAP benefits when all that money is still in accounts? Wouldn't you at least, before you start spending more money, get to the bottom of those 566 accounts that are around $10,000? Why don't they want to do that? I think because they think it's fraudulent and it undercuts that they want to continue to spend more. We've all had experience with that too. People in line on food stamp benefits of one sort or another. You watch them go to a car, doesn't look like there's any issue. They're buying whatever they want. How do you have $10,000 in that account if you really need it? Weren't you hungry for months? How about your kids? All right, jump on board with that. First, let me remind you that if you're tired of paying too much, we've got some great deals coming up with Rescue Natural Supplements. They're rolling back prices to 2013 on top of Memorial savings all month long. That's right, for the entire month of May. You can buy 2 products, get 1 free, or buy 3 products and get 2 free on every single Rescue supplement. Combine decade-old rollback prices with free bottles for huge savings. Stock up on all your favorites, 1250 omegas, cholesterol supporters, probiotic, brand new health gummies. They're all on sale. To order, call 800-26-ALIVE, 800-262-5483. You'll speak to a rescue consultant or shop online at res-q.com, res-q.com. Don't miss out on this opportunity to save big. Rescue has over 50 products to target your health goals, and everything is on sale. Rollback prices, memorial deals start now and last through the end of the month. So go shop res-q.com, res-q.com. It is Dom time. A little bit later in the show, we'll talk about a congressional friend. We had him on before of Ron DeSantis and what he thinks. I think he's plugged in. What happens tonight with DeSantis? I think this is exactly the way to announce this, though. It's different. You got Elon Musk involved. We're going to see if people turn on Elon Musk after this, though, because he seems to be aiding and abetting more than seems he is. Ron DeSantis. And watch this David Sachs guy. He's a big anti-Ukrainian side in this war. He's the moderator. Indicative to me that DeSantis is sending a message to Republicans out there. Yeah, he's not going to be going down this Zelensky path. And how does Trump respond to this? I mean, come on. You can't say, what kind of amateur hour is this? Doing it on Twitter. Here's the master of Twitter. Roosevelt had fireside chats. Kennedy had TV, first one to do it really well. And Trump is the first one to use Twitter somewhat effectively. He broke through with it. Some excesses, but he did break through with it. So this is a breakout move by DeSantis. I think it's a smart move as long as the technology holds up. There won't be any video, but Elon Musk and Twitter, I know Twitter is not real. We can say that all that we want, but what he says will get played all over the place. It's a breakout. It's a smart move for him to put himself on the map. All right, we'll take your calls too coming up. Don't forget Dom's Money Melody today. And this is the moment tonight. I'm going to be particularly interested in the Trump reaction. By the way, it's plus 1,400 that DeSantis will say abortion tonight. What does that tell us? DeSantis knows he made a mistake on that abortion bill. He definitely did, and I don't think he'll be talking abortion tonight. That's the last thing he wants to get into. 855-839-1210.